Quazi here. Today, I want to share with you one of the most important laws through which reality operates, the law of balance. I want to share a quote with you from one of my favorite books and authors, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel-Shinn, that summarizes this law very, very well. She says, "The dawn of success is often the darkest before the break of day. Every great work, every big accomplishment has been brought into manifestation through holding to the vision, and often just before the big achievement comes apparent failure and discouragement." See, I've noticed that in my life, every time a big manifestation, something that I really, really wanted, actually came into being, there was always a big challenge too. For example, when I wanted to quit my job to go all in on my business, none of my family was supportive, and I had the worst month of my life in my business in May 2019, the month that I made absolutely zero, when it actually mattered the most. But after applying what I'm going to share with you in today's video, by August of 2019, 3 months later, I had my first $20,000 month. See, a lot of people think that seeing a challenge before success is a limiting belief, but I'm only sharing my experience with you. And after having worked with over 1,800 clients, this is what I'm seeing. This seems to be a deeper law of reality through which reality actually operates. Look at some of the most successful people in this world. Jim Carrey, the actor, he lived in a van with his family during his teenage years and was rejected by every single producer early on in his career. He went on to become one of the highest paid comedic actors in Hollywood. Look at Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in extreme poverty, suffered terrifying abuse, and was told that she was unfit for television. Well, she became one of the most influential media moguls in the world and the first black female billionaire. Now, what's interesting is that there are more people who actually never break free of this struggle to actually have a breakthrough. They don't know how to overcome the challenges. They stay stuck in the same patterns for decades until they get to their 60s and 70s with deep regret for how their lives turned out. They resort to lying to themselves about their lives when they know deep down that they didn't live a life of full freedom. They lived with fear in their hearts, and more importantly, they let that fear actually hold them back. So guys, in today's video, I'm going to share with you the true secret that every single successful person who has successfully overcome hardship knows. And it's all to do with learning to keep your own internal balance. So with that, let's get started. So to begin with, I want to share with you one of our clients who has been through a major trial period, a major challenge period in his life. Our client, Nick. So Nick joined us, and after a few weeks of joining, going through the program, making the intention, he immediately saw that he was presented with a huge challenge. His dad got diagnosed with cancer and his mum with dementia, and he was still stuck in his 24-year career. His goal was to become a successful trader so that he could leave his career and start making 10K a month. And his first goal to work with us was to make 10K a month. And so after he got this news, he kind of had an emotional breakdown, and he just collapsed and fell back into his old ways, into Nick 1.0, the old version of himself. But he was able to, through what I'm going to share with you, stay true to his 2.0 self, really persist and really move forward through these tests and challenges. And what happened after was absolutely amazing. Not only did he make 10K a month, he started consecutively making 30K a month in profit in his crypto trading, which allowed him to quit his 24-year career and just leave, drive 900 miles to spend all of his time with his family. Now he gets to just trade, make 30K a month, and spend time with his aging parents, take care of them. And now he has free time to do the thing that he actually wants to do. Whereas otherwise, if he was stuck in this career, he wouldn't be able to spend time with his parents in their old age, right? All of this was possible because Nick persisted and stayed as his 2.0 self, okay? This is the key. No matter how many tests and challenges arise, people like Oprah, people like Jim Carrey, they are able to stay grounded and rooted in the version of themselves that they conceive themselves to be. They are staying true to the vision no matter what external reality presents to them temporarily. So the real question that arises from all of this is, why do tests and challenges happen? Well, Tests and challenges happen because the very first thing that we do is we make an intention. And when we make an intention, we're immediately operating outside of the confines of our comfort zone. So if I draw this little diagram here with this little circle, this is your comfort zone right now, and this is where your goals lie, okay? So this little one is your comfort zone, and this big circle is where your goals actually lie. It lies outside of the confines of your current comfort zone. The reason you're not experiencing the life that you want to experience is because you have been confined to your comfort zone. Please think about it. Any time in your life you've achieved anything worthwhile, it was because you got out of the zone of your comfort. You did something that was very, very uncomfortable, that was unfamiliar, that was new, that wasn't within the confines of this current lifeline. It was unfamiliar, right? So this bigger circle is your goal zone. And more often than not, it is super, super uncomfortable because what happens is your reality completely revitalizes itself, okay? And so when that happens, we go outside of the zone of our comfort and we begin to experience things that are new to us, which make us very, very insecure, which make us feel very, very fearful, which make us unconfident in general. And most of the time when people are so used to, they're so accustomed to staying in their comfort zones, and this is typically what we see people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they've lived one way for their whole lives. It's very, very difficult to break free from that. But Nick, he was able to do that because for most people who actually make the transformation, the pain of staying here is stronger than, the comfort that they get, the pleasure that they get from staying here. Because it becomes so painful. And that's why you'll see people, when they get to the breaking point, where they've hit rock bottom, they get to absolute rock bottom. That's when they say, fuck it, it cannot be like this anymore. This has to change. And that's when they take the leap of faith, do something uncomfortable, get out of the zone of their comfort, and then they experience a life that's completely renewed, completely fulfilling, and they end up achieving their goals. Because what happens when you get out of the zone of your comfort? You hand the reins of your life to God. You say, God, I don't know. This is unfamiliar to me. So I'm accepting of the path that you will show to me. That's basically what you're saying when you let go of the reins, right? You let go of the reins and you let God take the reins, okay? So the key to this is understanding anytime you make an intention, these tests and challenges are perceived tests and challenges because it means simply that you're no longer operating within the realm of your comfort zone, okay? Now, there are two main types of challenges that typically occur. Okay, let's talk about the two challenges. Challenge number one, inner challenges. And this typically is your identity. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're someone who wants to make more money, right? You've been making a certain amount of income every single month, every single year. You want to increase that. That increase in income is outside of the zone of your comfort. And so this is why a lot of the times we see lottery winners inherit or win a lot of money, and then 90% of them, there's an actual statistic, 80% of them within like 5 years, they squander it all and they go back to being homeless, being broke, right? Being back to their comfort level, right? And then there are some people who can never go below a certain level, right? They're millionaires, multi-millionaires, they just keep getting richer and they just can't go below a certain level. Why? Because your identity dictates your internal thermostat. If you believe you're someone who's only worthy of making 5K, 10K a month, or like $100,000 a year, that's your comfort zone. You will never try to sabotage that. You won't risk that to go higher and higher. Human beings are wired very, very interestingly. We would rather not lose $100 than make $500, right? But there are a select few who act with courage and they say, you know what? I'm willing to risk $100 for $500. I'm willing to risk what I have for a greater life, more fulfilling life, more of an adventurous life. And those are the clients that we work with. They have the courage to take the leap of faith and say, you know what? I'm actually sick and tired of being here. I'm willing to risk my current self and how I've been my whole life and change. Because it's too painful to be like this. It's too painful to constantly live in doubt, constantly live in fear, constantly live belittling myself and just feel trapped. Right? Most of the clients that we work with, they want to experience this boundless freedom in their lives. They're sick and tired of feeling trapped. And so when you make that decision, immediately upon making that decision, clients start to see results already, right? Because it always begins with a decision. And a decision is what? It's the intention. An intention is what? Your resolve. The resolve in the decision that you make to have and to act. You're resolute in this decision that I will no longer experience this, I will experience something different. I will experience what I want to experience, a boundless life where I'm making the income that I want, where I have the relationship and the health that I want. I'm sick and tired of falling back into these old ways and these old patterns of thoughts, and I've been stuck here for decades. Only when that knowingness, that realization comes within you, you're ready to make a change. Otherwise, you're just going to flip-flop. And that's why some people take a few weeks and a few months. They're very, very mature internally. They're spiritually adept. They can notice their patterns, and they're only willing to stay stuck for, a few months or 6, 7 months or even a year. But then there are other people who are extremely stubborn. They stay stuck in their patterns for decades, right? Decades, until they come to the realization that, oh, hold on, I've neared my 60s and 70s. This cannot go on any longer. And you'll be surprised, some of the greatest clients we've worked with are in their 60s. They've made a drastic transformation, like our client, Dr. Taylor. He's just gone out of his comfort zone. He's become a completely new man. He started traveling to countries he's never been to, started taking scuba diving, when he was terrified of water. And he started to put his material online. He's a doctor. He's going fully international. He's putting all of his stuff online, and he's just spreading his message out and getting over his fear of being on camera. Right? So all of this is possible because you overcome that internal challenge of the identity. Okay? So that's the most crucial part, is whenever you make an intention, your old self will always attack you. It will always attack you in these old doubts and fears. And even Nick went through this, right? You're going to go through this, but it's how you respond to them, right? Do you fall into them and entertain them and fall unconscious to them and react to them, or do you respond to them from your new state of being? So identity is it's the biggest internal challenge that every single person goes through, and the reason they're never able to break free. Now, there are also outer challenges or external challenges. And the biggest external challenge typically is when reality rearranges itself. Reality rearrangement. Why? Why is this one of the biggest challenges? Here's why. When you make an intention, again, what are you doing? You're saying to reality, I would like to experience something different. Well, you don't know the path that it's going to take to get you there. You don't know the how. The how is up to God. What's up to you is to simply place the order. So you place the order. Let's say you want to grow your business, you want to scale, and then life all of a sudden throws this test at you, right? Let's say you want to quit your job, you want to become a trader, or you want to, start your own business, whatever it may be. You make that intention, and all of a sudden, your hours get cut at work. All of a sudden you get fired. What then? For most people, they get scared, right? They retreat into fear. Oh, everything that I've worked for, I don't know how I'm going to feed myself. Even though they may have like 6 months or a year of savings to, last them until they can figure this out, figure the business out, figure the trading out, they still fall back into fear, and then they start looking for jobs out of that place, that state of being of fear. So it always comes down to, what's the state of being that you have before you make a decision? Is this coming from a place of fear, or is this coming from a place of certainty, of courage, right? And that's why it also goes back to the identity. The external actually goes back to the internal. When you look at the rearrangement of reality, then you retreat back to your old identity. That's your old identity challenging you, right? So to give you an example, when I went from making nothing, to making my first $20,000 a month, to making my first $100,000 a month, I had to get accustomed to that, to be able to keep it, to be able to maintain it consistently, right? Because initially I hadn't become that version of myself, there would be a fluctuation in my revenue. 1 month I would make 3K, then I would go to 4K, then I would go back down to 1K, and then I made 0, right? So from Jan to like May, when I started my business, it was a complete fluctuation. But then when I solidified myself into the identity of a $100,000 a month business owner, I went from 0 to 12K a month to 20K a month to 50K a month to 80K a month to my first $100,000 a month in January of 2020. This all happens because you become worthy enough to experience and keep that. A lot of people get so uncomfortable, like the lottery winners, with money. They can't feel comfortable with keeping money in their bank account. They immediately have to spend it. They immediately sabotage it, right? So it's like that discomfort that you feel within your body when reality is rearranging itself. Can you stay with it? Because I can promise you, if you can stay still in the turbulence, like the oak tree, right? You stay still, imperturbable, in spite of all the challenges around you. What are you saying to reality? That you truly are worthy of this. You're commanding it, that you are entitled to this. And so you're willing to weather any storm. And so reality says, oh, okay, you think you're worthy of it? Here you go. Here's more proof of where you are worthy of it. Eventually, the tides turn. You stay patient long enough, tides will turn and things will start to go your way. The profits that you wanted to make in your trading account, all of a sudden they start to show up. The income that you wanted to make, all of a sudden it comes to you. The promotion you wanted to get, all of a sudden comes to you. Everything, all of the progressions that you wanted to see, because you persisted through the times of trials and tribulations, because your internal state wasn't shaken, they show up for you. The second type of external challenge that shows up are pendulums. Now guys, I really want you to pay attention to this because once you understand pendulums, your life will completely change. Maybe you've heard of this concept called egregores, but what a pendulum is a collective like-minded energy. It forms through groupthink. So when a group of people come together, 2 or more, they start to resonate at the same frequency. It spontaneously forms a pendulum, an energy structure. If you think of religious groups, activist movements, riots, schools, colleges, universities, sports teams, collective like-minded groupthink forms these pendulums. Sometimes in riots, people will do unexplainable things, and then you ask them afterwards, why did you do that? Oh, I just got lost in the heat of the moment. What happened? The pendulum hijacked their consciousness and made them do that. Because what is the pendulum's main goal? To extract your energy, to suck your energy, to make this energetic structure stronger. And it just forms spontaneously. No one makes it form, it simply forms by itself when a group of like-minded people come together. Now, there are constructive pendulums and destructive pendulums. Destructive pendulums extract your energy and take you away from your goal, make your life worse, okay? Constructive pendulums take your energy and deliver you to your goals. The only way to be free of pendulums completely is to live in isolation or to be enlightened, right? When you're enlightened, you're free of the societal conditioning. Societal conditioning is one of the biggest pendulums, right? The collective unconsciousness. So, this is how it forms. Group of people come together, forms. Now, how is this an external challenge? Well, when I started my own business, everyone was doing a 9-to-5. Everyone was telling me like, what the hell are you doing? My parents were telling me, you have a safe and secure job. Why would you give that up to go and do this stupid online business where you make videos and charge for coaching? Who's going to want to buy that? It was completely unfathomable to them at the time, right? Well, to me, that's the path I wanted to walk. That was my own unique path that was right for me. So I had to own that because I knew that if I continued in this 9-to-5, this miserable, soul-sucking corporate job for the next 40 years, I would be miserable. I would hate myself for it, right? And that's why people, when they live in suppression, they start to develop all of these diseases. Disease comes from this unworked emotion because they stuff everything down, then the cancers show up. Then these other psychosomatic illnesses show up because they live restricted. They have desires that are unfulfilled. So they show up in these blocked energies that then manifest in bodily form. That's why the placebo effect is real. You can convince someone that something's going to cure them, and it does cure them, right? The mind creates the body. The illnesses are created by the mind, and through years of accumulating it, it shows up in the body, right? Now, I'm not a doctor. Not all of them show up this way. There are different karmic reasons. Yogis understand this. There are different karmic reasons they happen, but for a majority of cases, this is why it happens. This is why illnesses show up. Okay, so with pendulums, what they will try to do is they will try to say, no, don't do that. Don't walk your own path. Give me your energy. Come back to the 9-to-5 route. So that was in the form of my parents, my family, my friends challenging me, being like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? And then, of course, I want to save face. I want to look like, oh, no, I'm doing the right thing. Eventually, it will make me go back to my old ways. But for me, because my will was stronger, my pain of being in that 9-to-5 was so strong, I persisted with my original intention. So these pendulums will continually try to test you. They'll try to challenge you. And do you want to know what pendulums try to keep you in? What emotional states pendulums try to keep you in? There are 5 low vibration energy states that pendulums love to keep you in to extract your energy. These are shame. They try to shame you. You're a loser. Why are you doing this? They try to guilt you. I have a client of mine in my elite program where he felt guilty for making a lot of money. He felt this sense of guilt, like he had to do something, that he couldn't tell his parents or his friends or his family that he was making a lot of money. That's what we're working on, to eliminate that guilt. This guilt is what pendulums keep you stuck in because it extracts your energy in low vibration states. There is fear. This is the number one way in which pendulums keep you stuck. It presents you opportunities. God presents you with opportunities to move forward towards the life that you want. And then fear comes in. Pendulums try to fear you, try to say, oh no, you shouldn't do this. Oh look, this thing has a low probability of success. You don't even know if you're going to be successful with this. Prevents you from taking the opportunity in the first place. What do we know? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What's the worst thing that happens if you took that chance? Okay, you fail and you learn a lesson. Then you reiterate. What's the best thing that happens if you took that chance? Well, the best thing that happens is sky's the limit. We achieve all of the goals that we wanted to achieve. Is that a worthwhile risk to take? See, you have to be very, very objective during these situations. And you also have to be intuitive about what is uncomfortable and feels like the right thing to do. For a lot of people, they're scared, they fall back and retreat into the fear instead of acting with courage. Courage is a high vibration energy. Courage is a high vibration energy state. Okay? So we have shame, guilt, fear, anger is a good one, and pride. How many stupid wars have people gone to just because of pride? Pride for their country, like it's some noble thing to put your life on the line, to risk your family, to risk, losing yourself and the effect that it would have on your family. No thought about that. No. Just because of pride, you start doing stupid shit, right? A lot of people do it. A lot of people get hijacked by the pendulums. Anger and pride are great ones too. Pendulums love anger and pride because there's a lot more energy. These are higher end on the low vibration state. With shame and guilt and apathy, it's a low vibration, very, very low. There's not a lot of energy there. But in fear, anger, and pride, you're moved to action. It can mobilize you. So these pendulums like to mobilize you in fear, anger, and pride. The question is, are you going to act from that place? Or are you going to work through those fear, anger, and pride, dumb down your ego, be empty, and trust God? I can tell you, every time in my life, I felt empty and I felt like I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's when I became successful. When I lived in protection mode of, oh no, I'm afraid to lose what I have, that's when I failed. And that's when I lived a life of anxiety because I'm always worried about losing it. Even when I made my first $100,000 month, do you know what the first thought was in my head? Oh my God, how am I going to keep making it now? How am I going to make it another month? How do I make sure I don't lose it? And I lived in a constant state of fear until I had to work through that. And then it became effortless for me. And then it just came. And then I just surrendered to it and it just came every single month. I just showed up. I just put one foot in front of the other and did what I loved and God took care of the rest, right? That is true freedom. So now let's talk about the keys, okay? The keys with which you can actually stay in that state and pass the test. There are 3 main keys that you need to know. Before I get to those, guys, would you please do me a favor? If you're enjoying this, would you just leave me a comment? Or even if you're not enjoying it, just leave me a comment about what your thoughts are, what your takeaways are, what's standing out to you right now. And number 2, would you please, if you like this, would you please share this with a friend so that they can benefit as well? I'm trying to make sure this message is put out to as many people as possible. And nothing helps like when a friend shares a piece of content with another friend. No one pays attention more than when someone actually shares a piece of content with someone. So would you please do me a favor and just share this with as many people as you possibly can. I know they will benefit from this as well. I hope they will benefit from this as much as I hope I'm helping you. So please just go ahead and share this with someone. Also, if you want to access my exclusive email list where I can share updates that I can't quite share on the channel because of YouTube's platform limitations, all you need to go to realitycreator.com/list. And upon joining, you're going to get access to the exclusive Identity Shifting Bootcamp, a 5-video series that's going to guide you through the identity shift for you. Okay, so all you need to do is go to realitycreator.com/list. And now let's get to the 3 keys right now. So guys, key number 1 to staying in that state, to keeping your inner balance, is to keep importance low. Importance has to be low. What do I mean by this? Well, to keep your importance low simply means becoming non-needy, becoming unattached, having that general sense of if it happens, great, if not, even better, that it wasn't meant to be. So if you're anticipating something, instead of continually checking your phone or continually checking your email, shift your attention to something else. I can't tell you how many times I've been expecting a big deal to close. And, I just went out and golfed. I just hung out with my family. I completely forgot about it. And as soon as I forgot about it, my importance was low, it showed up. And I also can't tell you how many times I kept checking my email and I wanted a big deal to close. And the more I checked, the more it didn't come. And then when it finally came, it wasn't the outcome that I wanted. Life has this way of balancing us if we don't balance ourselves. The more we keep checking, the more we keep interfering with God's plans. Let's say I put out a video and I want a video to go viral. The more I kept checking the first hour, first 2 hours and 3 hours, I keep refreshing it, the worse it happened. And then when I went to sleep, I wake up in the morning, next day, it's taken off, right? I can't tell you how many times this has happened because, again, your thought energy, When you put something up on a pedestal, it has no choice but to look down upon you. Even in your social interactions, you're seeing this. Like if you speak to, let's say you're in sales, you speak to a prospect and you're very, very needy for the sale, they can feel your energy. If you're speaking to the opposite sex and you're very, very needy for their attention, you're very easy, they can feel that. They can feel that you're super, super needy. And they kind of feel like you're going to use them. Right? You have an ulterior motive or an agenda. Like, why is this person so needy? But then when you let go, when you don't need something from them, you can truly serve. That's a big shift I needed to make, because when I first started, everything was super important because I was new, right? But when I quickly made the shift to becoming non-needy and keeping my importance low, guess what happened? Instead of me chasing clients, they started chasing me. They started, reaching out to me, applying to our programs and wanting to work with us, because I didn't chase them endlessly. And I started to attract the clients that I actually wanted to work with. The clients who would pay a premium and actually do the work, show up and be nerds, be nerds about this stuff, not just someone who comes in and just complains all the time. So I'm very, very blessed and grateful I get to work with the most amazing clients ever. Okay. And that all happens because when you don't resist, when you don't put something on a pedestal, you don't distort reality. Because life in general wants to give you what you want. You just get in the way by putting it up on a pedestal and giving it meaning. So when I put something up on a pedestal and I create unnecessary amounts of importance in relationship to other areas of my life, let's say I have many different areas of my life of wealth, health, fitness, let's say my diet or my relationships, all of these different areas of my life. If I start to get hyper fixated on my diet and I become super, super like everything is important, I need to make sure I get the right amount of carbohydrates, fats, blah, 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 I'll find a way to sabotage it. I'll find a way to become deeply unfulfilled and yo-yo diet, right? Because I'm so strict on myself, at the end of the day, when my energy is low, I'm going to find a way to sabotage myself. When I put my income up on a pedestal, as compared to other areas of my life, right? If every area of your life is important, then that's great. But it needs to be of equal importance. Because if it's not of equal importance, if one part of my life is too important, then guess what happens? Your thought energy gets way too concentrated on that area of your life. If you imagine that there is a homogeneous field in reality, when I concentrate too much on one particular area of life, let's say I'm focusing too much on my income, right? I'm concentrating energy too much here. It gets bunched up here. Then what reality wants to do is it wants to create balance. It wants to create balance in this area, and it does it through its own way. It does it through taking the path of least resistance. So then if you want to make more income, let's say, and you're focused on that business deal closing, it gives you the simplest solution, which is the deal doesn't close. Maybe in some instances the deal does close, but in most instances it gives you the thing that is easiest for it to give you, which is you go back to your old normal life. And it teaches you the lesson to lower your importance. It's kind of like the man on the tightrope, right? If he's on a high precipice, his importance level is high. He's very, very worried about falling and plunging into his own death. So most of his energy is directed to, okay, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, instead of moving to the other side. Instead of him just walking, putting one foot in front of the other and going to the other side, most of his intention energy is tied to resistance. How many times in your life are you resisting failure? You're thinking about not failing and you're trying to avoid failure at all costs. Well, most of your intention energy is getting directed to avoiding failure as opposed to getting to the other side, just like that man on the tightrope. Okay? So as such, in this manner, you're creating unnecessary disturbances in the field of nature. Guys, this is why it's so crucial to keep your importance level low, okay? And to be equanimous. Anytime you feel like something is making your life too important, you have to shake things up. You have to go and do something completely left field. I can't tell you the number of times I would just take the day off, just completely change my pattern, scramble my RAS, my reticular activating system, because it gets too hyper fixated on business, money, need to help clients, need to get results, need to get views. Instead, if I scramble things up and I just become present to the moment, if I just go out and play golf and I hang out with my son and hang out with my wife, what happens? My mind is off those things. It's not scrambled anymore. So sometimes you need to take that time off and just completely fuck off. Completely just slack off, right? That's very, very necessary. So that's number one, keeping your importance level low. The second part to this is what I like to call BID, blessing in disguise. This is an intellectual solution. What do I mean by this? It's about looking for the blessing in every single event that happens. Because remember, whatever you perceive to be true, reality will reflect just that. Reality is very, very, it's a mirror. right? Whatever you perceive, whatever your relationship to it is what it will reflect. If your relationship to one particular event is somehow this will help me, then reality will say, oh, okay, you feel like this will help you? Then here you go. Here's more ways in which this will help you. So to give you an example, there was a time in 2023 actually, where I had two great top performers, employee sales reps, but one of them left and the other one just stopped performing. And eventually both were gone. Right? And so I was panicked. I was like, oh my God, I spent my whole, the last 4 years trying to build a team like this. And now I have to let them go. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? I felt lost. I felt scared for the fate of my business, for the future of my business. And, I realized what was happening then. But then I had another team member at the time, and she was telling me like, hey, Quaz, like, God always takes care of you. Just these reminders you need sometimes, right? She was like, somehow something good can come out of this. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm forgetting that this is somehow a blessing in disguise. So I chose to perceive it as a blessing in disguise. And guess what happened? Within the next 20 days, like 2 to 3 weeks, a top performing sales guy reached out to me who was crushing it for another company, but he wanted to work with me because that company they couldn't supply leads anymore. And he used to be a previous client of ours. And so he reached out to me. He was like, hey, do you have any openings? I'm like, of course I do. And I brought him on, and he brought one of his friends on from that company who was also a top performer. And together, like, they started performing 3 times better than the old 2 reps that I had. And their synergy was next level, right? And so I realized then that whatever's happening right now, you may feel like it's doom and gloom, but honestly, guys, like 3 months from now, you're going to look back at it. If your attitude is correct, you're going to look back at it and you're going to be like, oh, that's what I was worried about. It's not even going to bother you anymore. So this is why it's so crucial to choose your own attitude. There's a great quote by Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning. This guy was in a Nazi prison camp, and he said, all of man's freedoms can be taken from him except the right to choose his own attitude. And surprisingly, when you choose your own attitude, your reality begins to shift as a result. He was able to break it out of the concentration camp. So, blessing in disguise. Look for blessings in disguise. When something happens that's not in accordance with what you want to see, how do you know that's not what was meant to happen? That's that uncomfortable thing that was meant to happen for you to get to where you want to get to. This is God throwing a blessing at you with a temporary inconvenience. How do you know? How does this little ego mind know what grand plans God has for it? It can't. So just perceive it as a blessing and you will shift to favorable lifelines. If you begin to perceive it as a blessing, you're going to shift to favorable lifelines. Okay? So, third and final. This is going to be a really good one. Let it burn. If you can't shift your attitude to viewing it as positive, then let it burn. This is more of a bodily surrender. So if you're going through this cycle of anxiety of things burning down, your business is going to shit, your life is going to shit, everything is falling apart. Happens to everyone's life. Typically happens once a year to most entrepreneurs. Once or twice a year. Maybe even once a quarter. Honestly, like maybe 4 times a year to most entrepreneurs that I work with. And what they see is their lives just start to fall apart. You know what that is? That is the old passing so it creates space for the new to come in. It's insane. This happens every time. I used to say this to all of my entrepreneur clients. It's like, if you're not crying once every 2 quarters or every quarter as an entrepreneur, you're not doing something right. Like you got to be crying because as an entrepreneur, you're the true creator of your reality, right? As someone who is on this path to being a reality creator, maybe you're in a professional job, you want to quit your job, you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to go to work for yourself. You've taken the reins to your own life. You're breaking out of the matrix. You're breaking out of the 9 to 5, right? The path that you were supposed to go, the comfort zone. So when you walk your own path, it needs to be handled with care. There needs to be deep surrender happening. You need to let go of the reins and let God take the reins, right? So when you let it burn, you basically say to yourself, oh, things are falling apart. Instead of trying to save it, stop trying to save it. Let it burn. Just let it burn and build from the ashes. If you feel anxious all the time, allow yourself to feel anxious. Okay, I need to go through this. This is clearly happening for a reason. This clearly needs to pass and be processed. The most toxic advice you can get in this space is, just try to be positive. Make sure you're positive. Drive doubts away from your mind. There is some truth to that. Some. But most of the time, when we try to stuff away our negative feelings, we're actually strengthening the shadow, right? We're saying that this is not okay. Anything that is not okay gets stuffed deep into our shadows. Anything that is not accepted gets stuffed deep into our shadows. And that's when those illnesses come in. The psychosomatic illnesses, the physical bodily diseases, that's when it happens. When you suppress for such a long period of time. So the key is process it. Whatever's arising within your consciousness, clearly it needs to be worked through. And if it's happening within your reality, clearly it needed to happen. And then after it's burnt down and you've gotten to an equanimous, a neutral place, right? That place that I was talking about where I feel that if I've gotten to a place where I have nothing to lose and everything to gain, that's when I succeed. So how can you, as quick as possible, humble yourself to getting to that place of I have nothing to lose and everything to gain? Get to that place and you will gain. It will only be positive. And that's when the trap comes in, by the way. You start to gain stuff and then the ego comes in and says, look, I am somebody. The moment you think you are somebody, you're fucked. Live as a nobody and live with no thing, because this is how you came into this earth anyways, as a nobody and no thing. So then there is no pressure on you. Everything that is accumulated in this lifetime is a bonus. It's a net positive. Stop living in protection. Stop trying to protect. Stop trying to hold on. Let go. I promise you, the greatest things in your life will happen when you just let go. Okay? So, hope this was helpful. If you'd like to work closer together with me, by the way, I'm excited to let you know that some spots for a free one-on-one consultation with me has just opened up. So all you need to do is go to realitycreator.com/apply or click this link right here to apply to see if you qualify for a free consultation call to work closer together in my one-on-one mentorship. Guys who I typically work with are entrepreneurs who want to scale their businesses. They want to take things to the next level. They feel stuck at a certain level in their personal lives mostly, and it's reflecting out in their businesses. And also professionals who want to transition out. They want to make more money. They want to progress in their careers, and really just they want to make more income. They want to have more freedom and more time to hang out and spend with their families. And what they're seeing is it's not a tactical or a strategic problem. They keep hitting the same personal obstacles with a lack of confidence, a lack of self-worth. They're afraid of putting themselves out there. They keep hitting the same issues. You know, if you're a trader, we work with a lot of traders. You keep seeing the same pattern in your trading of revenge trading, panic exiting, etc. So if that sounds like you, just go to realitycreator.com/apply or click this link right here to apply to see if you qualify. And I'm excited to speak with you to see if we can help.